Libra Sun and Rising. Welcome to your October 2021 Astro Update. It's Raina here. October is quite busy, actually, but at the beginning of the month, you may feel like your hands are tied because Mercury is retrograding in your sign. That's affecting your first house of the self. And so introspection may be what's going on for you, but certainly in the outer world, things that you want to have progress may seem like they are being thwarted. And this isn't necessarily going to manifest for everybody like that, but at the very least, you may be rethinking certain aspects of your life. And one of the things that October promises for us is resolution, because we have 4 planets that have been retrograding, and 3 out of the 4 have been retrograding for months now. So we will feel that forward momentum by the close of October, or at least we feel we're going in the right direction, because these slower moving planets take a lot of time to get back up to full speed, and we call that being in their shadow until they get to the same degree they were when they retrograded. So the Mercury retrograde began at the end of September, and it's continuing until the 3rd week in October. But you may just feel like you're kind of between a rock and a hard place. Well, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration. You just may be rethinking some of your behaviors, or even like physically, how do you present yourself, the way that you, your mannerisms. There may be things about yourself that you want to edit, but it's really looking within is the ultimate thing, because, this is a lot of you have your solar return in October. And so this can heighten that sense of wanting to have a new and improved version of yourself. On the 6th of the month, Pluto turns direct. Now, Pluto has been retrograding for many months, and it's turning direct at 24 degrees of Capricorn. Capricorn is another cardinal sign, and it's ahead of you. So this affects your 4th house of home and family. And this is one of those angular houses that has a lot of importance placed upon it in astrology. You may, if you're somebody who has been dealing with either childhood issues or family issues in general, this may have been a time when you're taking back your power. And now that Pluto is direct, you're able to pursue things in a more balanced way, because Pluto is connected with power, but sometimes when people feel powerless, they overreact in the opposite direction. They become very controlling. And in this case, in your domestic area, sometimes people become all or nothing. Pluto is one of the planets, along with Mars, that rules Scorpio, and there's an all or nothing quality about Scorpio, and this may be something that you have experienced where you don't, ever since Pluto went into Capricorn, which was actually, I think, like a dozen years ago, 2008. How long ago was that? 13 years ago? And of course, I'm saying that in a general way because how it affects your chart may differ based on the cusp of your 4th house. Okay. But the point is that, Libra is a sign that tends to acquiesce in order to keep the peace. And you find out very quickly when you do that it doesn't solve anything, that it doesn't really keep the peace, really keep those other people happy, and then it doesn't keep you happy, that you're resentful. So it can cause you to kind of like decide to scrap it all. and, go the opposite direction. And then that doesn't work either, because you have to have a sweet spot. You can't be too controlling. You can't be too passive. And so you're taking back your power as it relates to maybe dealing with your parents. Maybe like if you had some kind of traumatic experience as a child and that caused you to be too much of a people pleaser as an adult because you had this angry or violent parent that was constantly felt very threatening to you. You realize that is a manipulation, and you no longer operate in that same sort of way. So that may feel like kind of forward motion. On the same day, there's a new moon in your sign. Actually, there's two transits or two dates in October where there are two things happening on that same day. And I am very much the kind of person who looks at these things as not coincidental, that there might be a connection between those two things. Now, for a Libra person, it's like it's a new day. You have a new moon at 13 degrees of Libra in your sign. And I mean, I can't tell you how Pluto direct will affect you personally, but however it does, it impacts your new solar cycle. And so definitely be intentional about it, plant those seeds of intention. Whether you believe in it or not, it can still be symbolic, and it can still be something that organizes your dreams, if you will. The next day on the 7th, Venus goes into Sagittarius. Now, Venus is your ruler, so that makes any Venus transit more important. And in Sagittarius, it's a sextile to you. So that feels really good. This is going to be in your 3rd house. And this can have the effect of finding love online in a dating kind of an app or something along those lines, some kind of an online dating situation through social media in general. And also this can be like finding love in your local area. So the 3rd house can be your community, and maybe you have a neighbor who is somebody who you find cute and you would like to meet them or learn more about them, these kinds of things. Venus can be about money. The 3rd house can be with something intellectual like teaching. And that can also involve like tutoring if you're not an actual teacher in a classroom. And maybe you're going to spend money on a training program in October. That's also a possibility. It could be like something that costs a lot of money and you're treating yourself to this. On the 10th, Saturn goes direct at 6 degrees of Aquarius. And this Aquarius is your 5th house. So that's also an important thing, that your 5th house has been impacted by both Saturn and Jupiter retrograding here. And so for single, I shouldn't just limit it to single Librans. Even people who are in committed relationships may have experienced some kind of love situation, and that may have been a little bit challenging if you were in a relationship, because you may have been tempted to stray from that relationship, especially if this was an ex who you already have a history with. So Saturn going direct on the 10th of October can really be a time for you to get serious about love, meaning that you're not, the 5th house can be like dating. And when Saturn was retrograding, you may have been like, screw this, I'm not going to be too picky or whatever. Saturn is very discriminating and very, paring things down, not being excessive. But of course, you have Jupiter that re-entered the fifth house as well. So it may have been something that was kind of good cop, bad cop in this fifth house. And now you're like more determined to find a serious love relationship. You had your fun. Now you're going to do this. Jupiter turns direct on the 18th, and that can make you more able to attract more opportunities to date. See, when Jupiter went back into Aquarius, I think that was in, oh gosh, I can't even remember. It might have been July or something like that. But whatever, it doesn't matter. But the point is that Jupiter was having you look at your values. It was like internalizing these aspects to your life, because you may have had some kind of situation, Libra, that has directly impacted you in terms of a significant other. Chiron is transiting in your seventh house of committed partnership. And so that can be painful. That can be bringing things to you that are connected to relationship. And this is your house. So it's almost like it's transiting your sign in a way. But one of the things that I would say that most would impact Libra is, do you lose yourself in relationship? Because Aries is the ruler of the first house of the self. It's the house that opposes you in the universal chart. And that deals with individuality. And we all need to have individuality no matter what our sun sign is. We can't enter relationships with this sense of that person is going to give me an identity. I'm going to feel defined, by being in a relationship. We have to find that within ourselves. And so that might have been a painful lesson that you've had to learn in the past few years as Chiron has been transiting through your seventh house. Is, do I use relationship as a crutch even to avoid dealing with my own personal journey? Okay. So anyway, on the same day that Jupiter turns direct on the 18th, Mercury goes direct in your sign. So here's that other, both of these things I was talking about that were where there's two things happening on the same day. Libra is involved in both of these. So Mercury goes direct in that first house. And yes, like I said, rethinking things, you may have come to some decision about how you're going to proceed as an individual, because this is affecting the first house. And really, I shouldn't be surprised that a couple of days later, on the 20th, there is a full moon at a late degree of Aries, 27 Aries. Again, that opposite house. Now, this could be as simple as an awareness of something that has been hidden within your relationship that that by bringing it to the surface, it gives you a chance to work on it, both of you. However, this could be you making that decision to end a relationship because you know that it is over with. When I do a tarot reading and I get the Death card, especially if it's in the challenge position, it's like the person is experiencing an ending, but they refuse to accept it. And this is really about seeing the situation as it truly is and being able to walk away from it if you realize that it is over with. But I'm saying it doesn't have to be that. I mean, maybe you and another person are wrestling over the issue of commitment. That's the nature of the seventh house. And even though you rule this house, some of you Librans may struggle with the issue of commitment. If your moon sign is in an air sign or a fire sign like Sag or Aries, you may be very in love with your independence, or an air sign like Gemini, or even Aquarius. You might feel this sense of, I don't want to lose my freedom. And you associate relationships with the loss of freedom. Okay, so coming to some decision, coming to an awareness. On the 23rd, the sun goes into Scorpio, and this is your second house of earned income. So the money might start really flowing a lot better, because on the 30th, Mars goes there. A sense of urgency, a sense of like wanting to make things happen. You've already had Venus in this house earlier in September into October. So you have already seen a trigger to your second house, but this is just more of the same. And Mars going into second house may have something to do with the holiday season getting kicked off right after Halloween. And this is actually on the 30th of October, so I wouldn't be surprised if it has some connection with that. So you might see that you're generating more money, but this is really due to your own efforts, mostly. One thing while I was compiling this list, I was thinking to myself when I saw Sun goes into Scorpio, and as I have typed this out on my Google Docs, I put like, orange, color from my font. And, it's kind of Halloween-y. I wasn't really thinking about that when I did that, but now I'm liking the vibe that it's giving. And I'm thinking, if you live down under and it's spring, I just love, but I don't know if Australia, if they have 4 distinct seasons. I confess my ignorance. I would imagine not. I would imagine that it's a lot, warmer, and they don't have some of those cool autumn nights. But that's one thing I'm grateful for, having 4 seasons, because having those autumn days where, it's getting dark early and, around Halloween, and oh gosh, those can be so neat. It's just kind of spooky, scorpionic. So anyway, that's what I have for you, Libra. If you would like a private reading, I have a double astrological reading for a special price called Deep Dive. If you haven't had your chart read before, this might be a great entrance into it. Some people that have gotten readings from me have had readings before. So it's not to say, oh, you have a reading, you never can have it from somebody else. It might be fun to see how different people read. So if you've already had a reading, you might find a new angle with me. You will find a new angle with everybody. That's a given. But so it's called Deep Dive, and it has an hour of natal chart interpretation and an hour of transits. So you get the best of both worlds. So I have other types of readings as well. My website is rainandmoonastrology.com. The link is below for convenience sake. And have a great month. Take care. Bye.